Hey.
Hi.
It's Tash and Carly.
And you're listening to Motherhood.
Not as we planned.
So get comfy, grab a cup of tea.
Or a glass of wine, and let's start talking about all the things too many of us avoid discussing.
So for those of you who might have missed episode all about fetishes, one of our followers messaged in, and basically before she went on the second date with this guy, he asked for her email, and he sent her the most in-depth, comprehensive Excel spreadsheet, and it's proper BDSM stuff. Like, we're talking like there was like physical harm and like what was it, prison play, like very
some crazy stuff. Anyway, we messaged her back because we really wanted to know. We wanted a follow-up. We wanted to know. Did she do it?
Did she fill in the form? Did she go and meet him?
And so we got a reply. So we just thought we had to share it with you because this is just brilliant. So she put, yes, I did. I was gagged, slapped, restrained. He's the only guy that ever made me squirt. He was French and made me call him by his surname. He has been a dom since he was 19. He had sugar babies also. I didn't know any of this until we'd had our second date. I was so intrigued by him that I was like, fuck it, I'll go. What's the worst that could happen? Maybe I'll end up in a suitcase. But it might be the best fucking time of my life. I met him on an app called Killing Kittens. Not sure if you ladies have heard of it, but it's basically a playground for exploring everything. They have monthly parties, whereas members only access, usually mansions. You sign NDAs, and basically people are walking around in the sexiest underwear, fancy dress, all depends on the theme of the party. You could turn a corner and you could literally see five guys on one girl. This was all before I found my partner now and became a mum. Now I'm as angelic as the Virgin Mary, but I love that I explored that side of things. That is fucking crazy.
Gold dust.
That is literally like movie shit.
Yeah,
like, you don't think that happened. Yeah. So we just had to update you with that because we were both so excited that we got a reply.
We were so invested in this PDF.
So if anyone's interested in it, you know the app to no. Well, you know,
I'd never heard of that app before.
I mean, neither had I. So yeah, anyway, back onto this week's episode.
This week's theme is slightly different, guys, a little bit more tame. We are talking all things co-parenting. I think the last time we really touched on this, I was in completely new territory. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm now 6 months in. Tash is even further along again. And I guess we get so many questions about co-parenting in terms of like our split, in terms of, I don't know, just feelings and how we figure things out. And I guess we just thought it could be helpful. And, you know, we've got some questions that we're going to go through and we'll obviously answer. Obviously, both our like setups are different.
So what is your current setup at the moment?
So, I mean, nothing is final at the moment. So at the moment, I have them in the week. And then every alternate weekend, he has them Friday to the Sunday, like late afternoon. And then the week in between that, he has them literally Friday night till Saturday midday. And then the rest of it is all me. And like, that's working a lot better because it means like what we didn't have before, we didn't have our set weekends. It wasn't in place. It was kind of literally playing it week by week. And I really struggled with that. I couldn't make plans.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like at the moment, like I don't really do a lot for myself in the middle of the week.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, that's really challenging. Like things coming up, like in what we do, like events and stuff, I have to pay for a babysitter to help or whatever it is. And I guess that's where we're trying to figure things out, because in a sense it feels a bit like unfair that he can do what, I guess it's just co-parenting. And you know, our situation where he does live so far away, it's not like he can just come and help out, and I'm finding that really challenging. I feel like it's really hard with things. Like I ideally would love to send Theo to do football class on a Saturday. He's really paid an interest in it, but one weekend he's with me on a Saturday here, and the next he's down where his dad lives. He can't do those things.
Yeah. You just don't feel like there's like that stability yet.
There's not a stability. At the moment, I do feel like I am the parent doing the nitty gritty and the boring and the mundane. I do the washing, I do the cleaning, I do this. I'm looking after them. I'm getting the grumpiness. I'm getting like the everyday routine. And then I feel like he gets to be the really fun parent who, you know, every other weekend or at the weekend gets to take them somewhere really cool, and it's really exciting and it's a fun day out with daddy, and daddy's going to be the fun parent. And
do you feel like there's a certain aspect of that even being the case when you're not divorced?
I guess to some degree, yes. I mean, in my experience, that wasn't a thing. Like, in the way it was before was weekends were family time and we'd do things together.
I mean more like during the week, like
doing all the mundane stuff. Yeah, absolutely. But that's it. I think it's, and that is a hard part. And I know a lot of people in marriages or relationships where the woman is doing all that stuff, like the booking of appointments, the things like thinking my child's gone up a new shoe size, or, you know, all those.
Yeah, and I feel like that, what I'm saying is those things I think are very present whether you're with the dad or you're not. I'm currently filling out forms to apply for the nursery of Blake and Ivy's school.
Yeah.
There's no way in a million years anyone would ever do that other than me. And I would never, not expect him to do it, but I would never leave him to do it. Otherwise, like, Rome won't be going. So I feel like there are just certain things that sort of just get put on the mum anyway.
I've seen a term, it's called the default parent. And I think that's very much apparent. And I think for most people, the default parent happens to be the woman, whether you're with that person or not. I'm very much the default parent. And I feel like being that parent can be really difficult. And even more so when you're separated, because you don't have that other person to fall back for in order to get things done. Like, you're still having to, you've got the load, but you're juggling everything else. And I think that's the thing I'm struggling with at the moment. I feel like that he always takes it. And don't get me wrong, I'm so pleased he can take them to lovely places and do really fun things, and the kids are having a really lovely time. But part of me can't help but feel like a little resentful that is his time with them, and it's this really positive and happy experience where he's having to deal less with, like, of course there's tantrums and stuff, but deal less with that. Whereas, like, don't get me wrong, on my weekends with the kids, I always try and do something, but at the same time, I've also got to make sure everything in the house is in order for the week ahead. It's, and as well, I've had a week of having them every single day, doing the school run, getting everyone ready, getting everyone, you know, like, it's not the same, is it?
No, it's not the same.
I guess it never really will be the same, and it's just getting used to a new normal.
I think it's even like, I'm pretty sure I said it when we last spoke about co-parenting. It is still being responsible for, like, you know, doing all the washing, doing all the everyday mundane, and then when they're not with the kids, which is maybe more often than not, a lot more time to themselves than what we do.
80%.
They can kind of, like, do what they want when they want, and I feel like they don't have that, like, they're not
worrying about,
they're not a parent when they don't. Do you know what I don't know, I feel like it's like, even when I'm not with them, I'm still, like, thinking, like, oh, I need to make sure even on my day off, I'm going to quickly go to the shops, I need to get that because they've got this school trip. Do you know what I mean? I think that is just what it is. I don't think that will ever change, and it is just learning to kind of, like, accept that way of co-parenting. Like, our structure is that their dad has them every other weekend, and then he has them one day in the week. So he has them like a whole 24 hours in the week.
Okay.
So it's like he picks them up like Wednesday, pretty much just before bedtime, takes them, and then brings them back bath time on the Thursday. So yeah, like, it works for us. On the weekends that I have them, I have actually also pushed for him to have them on the Thursday night as well. He brings them back. I do the school run on the Friday. So it's just that extra night's sleep that I've been craving when I'm doing 6 nights in a row where my kids don't sleep. I just really wanted that one more night's sleep before I have that full on weekend and rest of the week with them.
I think that's what I feel like I'm missing.
Yeah,
is that how I get? It's things like I can't even pop out to Tesco if we've forgotten something. Like I've got to think about these things before they go to bed, because if I think of them after bed, tough. They're in bed.
Yeah.
I can't just, I don't know, I used to pop out in the evenings and post my Hermes stuff back.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be taking 2 kids in massive boxes. Yeah. I can't do those things.
Yeah.
And it's like things you don't even think about until you can't do them.
Yeah, no, I really get that. Like now I'm so used to it, and I don't even think about how I used to be able to do those things anymore. But you know, there have been situations where I'm like, my food shop gets delivered on a Sunday night, so I've got everything ready for Monday morning, and then it will come and I'll see that like something hasn't arrived, and then I'm like, now I've got to take all 3 of them out with me tomorrow to go into the shops to get it. And it's just not a simple, like, you can't pop anywhere with 3 kids. But yeah, should we read some of the things that we got sent? Someone's put here, which is sort of kind of what you've touched on, constantly feeling guilty that I don't do enough with my daughter in the ways compared to her dad.
Yeah, I completely feel it's just so hard. It's probably my biggest battle. Like I feel like they come back and tell me about these amazing weeks. They've been to the zoo, they've done this.
But you know what, one thing I will say, and this may not be the case for everyone, but you know when you plan those like family days out, even when you were together, or even when you decide to take the boys on your own, and on paper it sounds so lovely, but the reality is a lot of the time they aren't that great. They are quite stressful. They don't listen. Sometimes I think you need to remember that yes, they may have gone to the zoo with daddy, but how much did daddy actually enjoy it? Was he like constantly repeating himself? And was so sometimes I think like those days sound great, but also doing them on your own isn't always very fun. That's, I feel like, another thing, okay, that I want to touch on. And again, I can't speak for every dad. And I'm also not saying that it's wrong, but I reckon majority of people listening to this, even if they are still with their partner, they will probably be able to say that if they separated from their husbands or partners and then they had a weekend with the kids, their mum would be with them.
I'm with you, you're right.
Do you understand? So like the grandma would be with them. So I feel like, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I know a lot of men probably find it hard. They don't have that maybe like maternal instinct to do certain things on their own. But sometimes I get that kind of like feeling of, I really do the parenting on my own, and I don't really feel like he ever does.
I think actually since we've been co-parenting, it's forced him to actually do more things on his own. So when we first separated, everything was with his parents.
Yeah.
And he, like going out for a day out with the kids previously was like, I think it was terrifying. The concept that I even went away with them, he was like, not normal. I don't think you're normal. I'm not normal. But he would take his parents everywhere. And I say like, he still does take them out a fair bit, but he is doing more things on his own with them, which I think is a really good thing. And
yeah, that is good.
Kids as well. And I think, I don't know, maybe to some extent, maybe he is appreciating more. I say this, I don't know if he actually felt this, but appreciating how hard it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a bit of not a meltdown to him, but it was a week where actually we were communicating positively, and I'll hold my hands up and say that doesn't always happen. And I think it's very normal in a co-parenting relationship. You know, it takes a lot of time to get to a point, and it's something I do want to work on. But at a point we were co-parenting positively. I said to him, I basically said what I've said before, like, I feel like I'm doing all the washing. I've got to fit in my work around all of this. I'm doing the cleaning. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And they're doing this. And I said, I feel like you get to literally show up, take him out for a fun day, bring her back. And I said, I feel like it's a bit like babysitting. And I said, I don't want to be disrespectful to your role. But he even said to me, like, I don't feel like I'm much of a parent at the moment because of the setup. It's not a normal setup. And you know, it's something I'm really hoping is going to change. I want my kids to have two parents who both parent, who both, you know, dig in deep to the nitty gritty and, you know, splitting responsibilities, because I understand logistically, yeah, a lot of things fell on me before, but things are different now. I'm on my own. I've got to, as well as all of this, you know, I've got to financially be on my own. I've got to fund a lot more on my own, you know. It's, I think just for me as well, getting it off my chest about exactly how I was feeling, because I think, again, like, look, even though my relationship with him romantically has ended, I think that communication is still really important as co-parent.
Yeah.
Some relationships can be really complex with co-parenting, and I'm not saying mine is perfect. It's not. But I do think it's important. Like, if I'm struggling with something, like the load, like the resentment, if I'm being honest, I am going to articulate that.
Yeah. No, and I think that's good. Like, where I am now with our co-parenting relationship, I think I would say, like, it's good. Like, it's really good. Like, very amicable. Like, see each other drop-offs. It's completely pleasant. I think there's just always going to be, with most co-parenting relationships, there's going to be things that still maybe trigger you from, you know, I think it's generally much harder on the mum when it comes to separating, because the load is more on you. But then I guess I could also, you know, there's probably also dads out there that really struggle with the lack of time that they've got with their kids. I saw one of the questions was about, like, how do you come to an agreement with the split, because my ex wants 50-50 and I refuse to only have my children 50% of the time. Like, that would kill me. As much as I sit here and I say things like, I love my time away from the kids to really, like, recoup and, like, enjoy my own time, to only have my kids 50%, I feel like would ruin me. I couldn't do that. And I guess luckily we came to our arrangement easily, pretty much based on the fact that, like, I knew I was going to have the majority of the time, because one, I wanted that, and two, I know that he isn't able to because of work, and I don't actually think he wants them. I don't think he'd ever want them 50% of the time. I think if I turn around and said to him, can we do 50-50? I think he would have said no. Yeah. Because I had to push for that extra Thursday night, just a night. He's not even giving them breakfast. It's just a night so I can have some sleep. So I guess there's, like, pros and cons of sometimes you've got a co-parent that, like, is really pushing to want more time with them and you don't want them to have it. And then you've got the flip side where they don't want to be involved
just
at all.
Down to the individuals as to what you guys want. Like, for me, I think I've always been that person who's done more. Like, I've always been the one who spends my time with the kids. So I've done, like, everything I've done in terms of my work was so that I could spend that time with my kids. And that's it. It wasn't even a conversation like, I want this, I want that. I put forward a suggestion, or initially we were just, like, going a bit ad hoc, and then I said, I think we need a routine, but it's just not
working.
It's not working. It wasn't working at all. I, like, literally didn't know what I was doing one week to the next. I assume I speak for him, but I think this is working a lot better. And, you know, there are going to be occasions where I want to get to the point where we help each other out with situations. So, like, for example, obviously I went away the other week and my flight back wasn't till Monday afternoon. So I asked him to have the kids on the Sunday night, take Theo to school in the morning, drop Milo at his childminder and do the pickups, and then I'd be back. And actually he agreed.
And do you know what? That's really nice.
And that's the point where I want to get to, because there's going to be points where he might, and he's asked me to have them on a day when he would usually have them because he's doing something for himself. Fine. Like, as long as it's not taking the mick and it's not, you know, trying to not do things. But I think life's not as straightforward as this. Things are going to crop up, you know, and I think at the end of the day, for us, I'm not saying we're there yet, but I want to get to a point where any kind of feelings in terms of anger or resentment is just like, it just like in my eyes, it literally does not matter anymore. Like, I don't want to keep going over things that have happened. I genuinely don't care. I don't care if this didn't happen in our marriage, or, you know, I feel like where I have so mentally moved on from that relationship, I don't want to keep going around in circles. I don't want to feel angry. I want to get to a point where I just feel indifferent, where I just know he's their dad and I have to communicate. And in my opinion, I want that communication to be minimal. I don't really want anything to do with him other than communicating about my children. You know, we're not going to have Christmases together. No, I don't spend any time with the man, you know, I really don't. But what I do want, I want a positive environment for my kids. I don't want any negativity to be spoken about anyone. You know, I want it to be really positive. You know, as we both move forwards, like, we're going to see other people. And I think we need to be respectful towards, you know, understanding that our relationship didn't work, but perhaps there are people out there better suited for us. And to be respectful of that, I think that's a place I would really like to get.
And I feel like that is very doable, because I feel like that's where I'm at. Yeah. It is very indifferent. Like, regardless of what I've been through, I no longer like see him and I'm like, get out my face, or like, I hate you. Like, I genuinely, I care about him. Like, he is the father of my kids. I don't wish anything bad on him. I hope that he finds happiness, because if he's happy, then my kids will be happy when they're with him. And I feel like that's the way you've got to look at it. And I saw a quote that really like stuck with me, and it was like, always make sure that you love your kids more than you hate your own.
Yeah.
Because they're not going anywhere. Like, don't get me wrong, fine. I mean, we're not in this situation, but there are going to be people that have co-parenting relationships where there actually isn't a co-parenting relationship. You are solely looking after your kid on your own. You don't get to get any time to yourself because the dad has literally like no interest, and like my heart breaks for you. Maybe not so much for the kids, because if he's not wanting to be around, then maybe they're better off, as sad as it is. But it must be really hard for a mum that does it all on their own, that doesn't get to have that time. Because there's one thing doing it on your own, like, as in like, you know, being single mums, like, it's fucking hard, but not being able to have that time, like, I can't imagine what that must be like, and that must be really, really difficult.
I do agree. And I look, like, co-parenting relationships are really difficult. Like, you are trying to still bring up your child to be like the best version of themselves, and but you're still also dealing with things that happened, and it's also very normal to still feel certain things. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I'm in the place where Tash is at, where I wish him happiness and stuff, because right now I'm not quite there.
But and do you know what? Some people, you don't need to get there. Yeah. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I really want to set him up with someone. I hope he finds someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean more like, I don't wish bad things on him, which I think maybe one day I did. But like,
that's it.
But like, it's more like I no longer wish for it. Yeah. Do you know? But I know when you're angry and you're going through stuff, you're like, fuck him. Like, I hope that, you know, he feels my pain, and like, I don't care to wish for that anymore, because I'm over it.
But when you carry that anger, like in a co-parenting relationship, it just makes you feel worse.
Yeah.
And it's like that manifesting stuff we're talking about. If you're just angry, then that makes you feel rubbish, and then you end up being grumpy and snappy, and it's just not positive. I think, I don't know, saying I'm learning very much at the moment. Like, I'm so done with bringing things up and going around in circles.
I did that a lot.
Things that just don't need to be revisited. I'm very much at a point in my life where I am moving forwards, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I feel the need, and actually, in actual fact, I'm at a bit of a point where I'm looking back at that and I'm feeling grateful that's making me appreciate what's in front of me a lot more.
Yeah.
So I don't need to keep revisiting it. I don't need to keep bringing up anger. I just want to get to a point where I think what I'm missing is, yes, that is a bit more stable with our routine, but I want that extra bit more stability. Like there's certain aspects of my divorce that I was still trying to figure out.
Same.
Yeah, still.
Yeah.
I think it's the uncertainty and certain aspects, because we're not divorced yet and things aren't finalised. And, you know, I haven't got that security of where I'm going to live. I haven't got that security of what my setup's going to be. And I think it's that I am finding the hardest in terms of like being able to co-parent well, because as much as I want to be really civil all the time, there's still things that are cropping up. And I'm like, well, why can't this be this way? And, you know, hear me out. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously
it's a process.
It's a process. That's what I was trying to think.
It is a process. And I think that, you know, anyone listening to this that may be like right at the beginning of their relationship, their like start of their co-parenting, like no two co-parenting relationships are going to be the same. And you've got to sort of like work with what you've got. Do you know what I mean? Like some are going to be those no eye contact and you're never really going to speak, and you just make sure you don't fight. And it's the drop-offs are, you know, you don't really go to the door, they drop the kids off. It also depends on the age of the kid.
Yeah.
And also, you know, if the kids are much older and don't want to go to daddy every other weekend, you know, it's going to get to a point where you can put all these things in place. But once they're of an age where they are more able to make decisions, they may not want to go there, or they may want to go there more. So I feel like
it is hard.
You've got to work with what you've got.
It's stuff like that as well. Like, so say, for example, I don't know, is sometimes, it actually hasn't happened that many times, but there might be an occasion where I've asked Theo to stop doing something and he'll say, Daddy lets me do that here, or stuff like that. And it's, or, you know, I want to see Daddy, and I feel like he's doing it to spite me. And actually, like, I know it's just his way of coping, but it actually really hurts.
Yeah, I have it a lot where it's more, I feel like when I said no to something, and then it's but Daddy lets us, or when are we seeing Daddy next? How many sleeps till Daddy? And like, they know.
Yeah.
So you do have to take it with a pinch of salt. Sometimes I feel like kids would be like, oh, I miss Daddy, I just want to be with Daddy. Just like, I feel like we don't give children enough credit for like,
I do agree.
But should we look at some other questions?
Yeah.
So I've got one here. She's put, last year I had the kids for Christmas. We're now starting to talk about the holidays. I really can't bear the thought of not being with them. What would you do?
I think this is every single parent's worst nightmare, isn't it?
Yeah, like I know you haven't experienced Christmas yet. Last year was the first Christmas that I had separated. So I had them Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then he had them the night of Christmas Day and Boxing Day. I feel like they're obviously of an age where they don't really know the dates. Like I literally just said to them, like, we pretty much did like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day at me, and then they did it all again at Daddy. Look, some people may say that you just need to take it in turns because that's the right thing. However, I feel so strongly about just the little things that I'm so sentimental, and I put so much care and effort into the sort of things that I do for things like this. And the things I do for them on Christmas Eve, I just know won't get done somewhere else.
That's literally how I
It's feel. Even just like the Christmas Eve boxes I do, they're chocolate milk. My dad dresses up as Santa and goes and hides in the back of our garden on Christmas Eve and like waves, and they think it's really Santa. You know, you do the snow footsteps, like the cookie and the carrot have been eaten, just all those things that I just feel like bring so much like magic and joy to your kids that I just know wouldn't get done anywhere else. So rightly or wrongly, I've said a few times to him, like, what's the plan at Christmas? Can we do the same as last year? He was like, I'll let you know. So in the end, after maybe 3 or 4 attempts of me trying to find out what it is that he's letting me know, I have turned around and said, I'm not sure what I'm waiting for, but I'm going to have them. And he hasn't pushed it. So I'm having them. Like, I feel like I think I have it quite good in the respect that he isn't that dad that really pushes to want them. You can see pros and cons to that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he doesn't care to be with them. I'm not saying that he's not good when he's with them. But I think maybe deep down he also knows that like I will bring that kind of magic more to Christmas Eve. And also like he's with his family on Boxing Day. We always did Christmas Day with my family, Boxing Day with his. So they already do Boxing Day. So I feel like it just works well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we've discussed.
Have you?
Yeah. I guess because it's been a bit of a big thing in my head. I mean, as far as I remember, we've discussed it and sorted it, but you never know.
You might listen to this and be like, by the way, you were wrong.
But I'm pretty sure I'm going to have them Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I don't know if he'll come and get them on like later on in Christmas Day and have them certainly Boxing Day. But because his parents obviously don't live near, we always used to go down for Boxing Day and stay a few days before New Year's Eve. So he's not in work then. So it logistically would make sense that he would have them on Boxing Day and keep them there for a few days.
Yeah, especially with the distance going back and forth.
We always do a big Christmas thing again, and it's like you, like just bring the magic, and but also feel like something that it's really important to me. I actually think it's making me sad thinking about it. I'm crying. The thought of waking up on Christmas without that's me.
I know.
It's actually the painful thought to have. I'm sorry for anyone who has got to go through that. I'm like freaking crying.
I don't, because I'm so hot. I'm like starting wetting here.
That's like has been one of my fears is like going through Christmas. Like I'm even now thinking on Boxing Day I'll be on my own because my mum always goes to her friends and I won't have my babies, and like, I'm going to do it on Boxing.
I struggled really a lot on Boxing Day last year, but actually I ended up doing something that I used to do before I had kids, and I used to go to London and shop all the sales with my sister. So Boxing Day is a great fucking shopping day. So you do you and you shop till you drop.
Yeah. It's
just one of those things.
It's a milestone, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And it is a struggle, and I hate the family politics around. Like I never thought that I would have the family politics around Christmas, because it was always just like, I'm with my family. Like, do you know what I mean? And I never really saw my family being like that broken family where it's like 1 year at dad, 1 year at mum, and it does make me sad. It's things like that make me sad. And look, like, to be honest, I am amicable enough with him to be like, come to me in the morning and we'll give them all their presents. However, I feel like it gets to a point, especially when we're with other people or whatever, it's just not necessary. But yeah, I mean, look, maybe it's a bit much for me to expect to have them every year, but for now, I know I've got them this year, and I'm just not thinking any further than that because it does kill me. I think for anyone that, you know, maybe is struggling with the thought because they are taking it in turns, you've just got to make sure that you fill your day with as much as you can. And remember, especially if your kids are young, they don't know what day is Christmas. So make another day Christmas, you know? If you're only with them Christmas Eve, then make the 23rd, that night, is the night that you do all the stuff. You know, they don't look at everything on social media and see what's going on. And you just got to work with what you've got. And it is hard and it's a process, but it's just one of, sadly, the things that comes with two homes. Let's find another one. My kids are going to be away from me for the first time for a week. They're going away with their dad. When you haven't been with your kids, what's been the setup? Do you FaceTime or do you just wait and not speak to them?
So the longest I've been away from my kids is a Friday night to a Monday.
Right.
I've not, like, I have asked to, but it's not always possible to face. I feel like if it was any longer than that, I'd want to. It's like, it's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
But when I went on holiday, when I took the boys away for a week, and obviously my ex was missing out on a weekend with them, they FaceTimed him.
Right.
I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So the longest I've been away from them is a week, and I FaceTime them every day. Their dad doesn't see them for 5 days every other week, and he doesn't ever FaceTime them, but I guess he's maybe used to it. Or for me, when he has them, I check in multiple times because it's just how I am, and he's never had a problem with it. At the beginning, I think of the co-parenting, I didn't, just because I was trying to not have as much contact with him, and it affected me. And I always thought to myself, no news is good news. If there's a problem, I'll know.
Yeah.
I think I remember mentioning it in one of our episodes. I think I said something like, I used to, when he dropped them off, I'd ask them like what they had for dinner and if they slept well, but actually it's been and gone. I don't need to know. But now I do ask those things because I want to know, and it doesn't affect me to speak to him. So yeah, when he's with them, every morning I ask how they slept. And then every night I ask them how they went to bed, and he doesn't do it the other way around. But I guess I think men are different in general. But yeah, I think that, if you're away from your kids, you need to do, or at least ask
as well,
to do what it is that you want. If you want to FaceTime them, do it. But if you also are at that point where you struggle to have that communication with your ex,
or as well, I think you also need to think of the kids. Like sometimes I actually feel like FaceTiming makes it worse. Whenever I've been away from my kids, not like before I've been married, before I've been separated, sometimes FaceTiming my kids made them more aware mummy's not there.
Yeah.
Actually made it worse.
Yeah.
I think whilst I struggle being away, I actually think the kids are more settled without being reminded of me.
Yeah, no, I get.
So I have and that's really what I've done the last few times. I've had slightly longer weekends away. Is I've taken a step back, just trying to think of the kids, because I know sometimes when they speak to me, they have a bit of a wobble, and I don't want to be that person creating, trouble.
Yeah,
and I don't want my kids to get upset.
Yeah, you've got to obviously do what works for everyone, isn't it? Kids being put first.
Absolutely.
So I've only FaceTimed them on the occasions where it's been
longer.
It's longer. Let's do a few more. My ex has introduced my children to his girlfriend. They've been together for a month. He didn't ask me, and I'm really angry. What would you do?
That would really upset me.
I mean, livid. I just think it's so disrespectful. I mean, I don't know whether this is the case, but to find out probably through the children or something
that's I have said this. I think someone asked me this on one of my question boxes the other day, actually. Everyone's different, and for me, it's a massive thing to introduce someone, especially under what terms. I don't even feel like it needs to be a really formal thing to start with as well. I think when the time comes, the way I'd do it would be just having them there as a friend and them just being around. But I just think it's really disrespectful. I know you even offered your ex to meet him first, and I just think that's the right thing to do. I think
I feel like I was doing something so wrong by him not being in the loop, regardless of how we ended or how our relationship is or anything.
I mean, in my opinion, they're his children too, and I do think it's not a legal thing, but I think there's a line of respect about having. It's actually a bit of a trigger for me. I think it's because one of my biggest fears is my kids being introduced to someone maybe I don't even know about, or someone I know nothing.
No, same. Because I haven't experienced this either, and that's what is so frustrating. I think with a co-parenting relationship or any relationship, because you can't control what other people do. They'll do what they want, and if there was lack of respect in your marriage in the first place, and you can't really expect it to suddenly appear when you're not together. And it's just sad, because really I also think then maybe the kids aren't taken into consideration especially after a month. I know we said it's not about time.
That's really
but that is a period of time.
Like, when I introduce someone, I want to be sure that person's like a long-term in my relationship. Look, I feel like the damage has been done. I would vocalize my opinion to him and say, like, I'm actually really upset about this. But I think what's really important is to then not get into a bit of a one-upmanship and then introduce someone you're dating really early, because at the end of the day, you've got to prioritise the kid.
100%.
And you've just, as much as it's annoying and it's crap, I think you need to just set that example as to what, you know, look, by the sounds of it, who knows, like they could have another relationship in a few months' time and it could be someone else. So maybe make sure that it be like, look, like, been dating this person for 9 months and I'm very serious this is going to go somewhere, and I feel like we're ready to introduce them to my kids. And again, it's not something I can speak from experience yet. You know, I do feel like there will come a time when this will become a thing for me. And as much as you could even be sure that, you know, you're going to want that person in your life, I think when you've been married or you've been with someone a long time, just in my eyes, I just feel like sometimes there's just no rush. And sometimes, I don't know, I feel like introducing kids into a mix sometimes can complicate things.
I definitely think that also her letting him know that she's not happy with it, maybe if he's got the respect, if he's only introduced her as a friend or something, then they don't need to see her again for a while. Do you know what I mean? Or as you said, he might have been in a different relationship in a few months' time and then make sure that he doesn't do it again.
Yeah.
I think all you can do is voice how you feel and hope that they take it on board. But yeah, that's
unfortunately, you can't control who your kids see. That other side, it's something I've asked for advice on as well. That is one of my biggest fears, really.
Same, to be honest. Like, I trust who I'm going to introduce my kids to, but you don't know how they're... Yeah. So anyway, thank you for sending those all in. Should we quickly go to some emails?
First of all, I want to thank you for your podcast. It's really helped me. I feel like my life fell apart 3 months ago when I found out that my husband had been having an affair since before Christmas last year. Obviously, the affair is absolutely awful and killed me, but what made it all worse was the way that he treated me during and after me finding out. He gaslit me, blamed me for his behaviour, apologised, but always said, "I'm sorry, but you." The worst thing that he did was take my 2 gorgeous girls on play dates with the other woman and her daughter. My daughters now ask about her daughter all the time. He has moved out of the family home and has moved into a rented house. He has photos up of him and the other woman. His focus is just him and his happiness with her, and he can't see that it's too much for his daughters. I'm struggling with the idea of my girls having to be around this woman and then being a happy family without me. How do you cope with missing out on memories your kids are making when they're not with you?
I mean, first of all, it just pisses me off that a man could be that selfish. Photos up in your house with another woman. That is so fucking confusing for children. How old did she say how old they are?
No.
It infuriates me because as she said, she is just thinking about himself.
Yeah. It's unnecessary, is it? And it sounds like this is all like relatively new.
Yeah.
Not thinking. He's not thinking.
The thing is that the only thing I can say, and I don't know if this is going to make it any better, I know it's so difficult thinking about missing out on like new memories, because I remember the first holiday that the kids went on with their dad, that's what killed me.
Yeah.
It was knowing that they were making these really exciting memories that I wouldn't know, I wouldn't be a part of. But I think you've just got to remind yourself that you're also going to make new memories with them. And as long as they're happy memories that they're going to make, you've got to try your hardest not to take it personally. Like, you don't want to be with him, making memories with him. Like, he sounds like a fucking numpty. Let him get on with it.
And at the end of the day, you want your children to have nice experiences and nice memories, and it's okay, we're not always part of them, and
we're not going to be part of their fun experiences at school. and with their friends. So like I know it's hard, like I get it, but I promise it does get easier, especially when you start maybe setting, you know, adventures for you to do with them and making new memories with them, which is maybe what I would suggest doing.
Plan something a bit special.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to write this email to show some appreciation. Okay. I just wanted to write this email to show some appreciation and to thank you both for creating this amazing podcast. I never thought I would find something so relatable, and it's truly helping me on my healing journey. However, I know I have a long way to go. My ex-husband and partner of 14 years was having an affair for the majority of my pregnancy. I found out when my daughter was only 12 days old. On the night I gave birth, he couldn't get away from the hospital quick enough, as it was the perfect opportunity to go and spend the night with the other girl. That actually makes me feel ill. It actually makes me sick to my stomach and so angry, and he has tainted the most precious moment of my life. He walked out on me and his newborn daughter to be with a 21-year-old girl who lives a stone throw away from my house. When I found out, I honestly felt like my world was crumbling at my feet. I didn't even want to be alive during those early days and contemplating ending my life constantly, but I knew my baby needed me. My ex refused to tell me who he was having the affair with and seemed to get some joy in telling me with a grin on his face that I would never find out who it was. As I sat there recovering from childbirth, crying my heart out, he had no problem in telling me this person made him feel things I never could and that he enjoyed having the affair.
Sorry, can we pause a minute? What's wrong with people?
The nastiness.
She's just given birth to his...
That actually makes me feel ill. He shouted at me and called me a controlling bastard and a brain-dead bastard, all because I was begging him to stay. Looking back now, how stupid was I, but I just wanted to give my little girl a chance of a family unit. I told him how I felt suicidal and he laughed in my face. I'm sorry, this actually makes me feel really unwell. I just... so disrespectful. It's actually like breaking me. Oh. He laughed in my face and told me to stop trying to blackmail him to stay with me. He left me on my own that night with a newborn baby and drove over an hour to be with the other girl. The first 2 months were mental torture, not knowing who the girl was who played a part in tearing my family apart. I begged him to tell me who it was to help me get some peace of mind, but he refused to. He made me feel crazy and lied to me, saying he wasn't with anyone and he just wanted to be alone. I was a paranoid wreck and unable to sleep due to the heartbreak and constant overthinking about if the person he was sleeping with was a friend or a family member. Thankfully, after following him one night, I got the answer I needed.
Good for you.
I confronted him, and the girl he was having the affair with was hiding in the boot of his car. I'm sorry,
what?
And him and his family made me out to be a crazy person for following him. Sorry, you've got profound issues if you hide in the boot of someone's car, babe. Sorry, right. Looking back, it probably is a little bit crazy, but it didn't need to happen if he was a man and was honest to me, so I will never regret the night of being a little psychotic.
When we were psycho moment,
yeah,
I would have fucking followed him. Good for you.
When we were together, I was so close with his family and genuinely treated them as I would my own family. Since the affair, they've completely turned on me and asked why he needed to have an affair in the first place, as this was my fault. And his mother was also surprised to see that I was still crying after 6 weeks and told me to get up and get on with it. Bloody hell. Whew, even though I was, because I had no other choice than to get on with it for my daughter, the lies that he and his family have made up to justify his actions are disgusting. They have said I physically abused him and controlled him in various different ways. They accepted this girl into their lives within a couple of months and have shown no care for how I'm feeling. I live in a very small town and I'm struggling with the lies that have been told about me and what other people may think or believe. I've isolated myself completely as I'm afraid to even bring my daughter for a walk because the few times I did, I've seen the other girl and I ended up having a panic attack in the street. My daughter is now 10 months old and I'm still suffering from severe anxiety and depression. I feel like I still can't get the situation out of my head and I'm replaying everything in my mind constantly. I hold so much anger and resentment that because of his selfish choices, I have to lose time with my daughter. The thought of time away from her makes my anxiety go through the roof, especially when I don't know where she will be or what he will be doing with her. I constantly worry that when she is older, she will love him more than me and want to live with him because he will be the fun parent, literally what we were saying. I know I'm thinking way too far ahead, but I just don't know how to stop these thoughts. I also struggle with the thought of the girl who broke up my family being around my daughter, and I know there's nothing I can do to stop this, as childish and petty as this may sound. I just don't want my daughter around such a deceitful person with clearly no morals. I really do admire both of you so much for your strength and how well you are coping with your experiences. I can only hope that one day I could be as strong and positive as you are. If you have any advice on how I can move forward from this, I would really appreciate it. I'm so lucky to have amazing friends and family, but I've gotten to the stage that I feel they're bored of me talking about how sad I feel. So I'm trying to put on a fake smile every day, and it's exhausting. I don't think you can truly understand how traumatic this is until you've been in the situation yourself. So it'd be nice to hear from someone who I can relate to. Hoping that one day I could find my smile again like you guys have. Your kids are so lucky to have you. Oh, God.
Fucking hell, what an absolute arse.
Think you could take this once. Have a little moment.
I mean, I completely appreciate like the thought of being apart from a child that's 10 months old or younger, because he left at such a young age.
He just deserves so much better. Like, everything you've said about this man just makes him sound like the most evil, nasty.
And also the fact that you're worried about your daughter being around this woman. The thing is, you need to take that advice that we've given before about a day at a time, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a very long time before she even is able to form an opinion of her. And the likelihood is she probably won't even fucking be around, if I'm being completely honest. So try your best not to drive yourself mad thinking about things that haven't happened yet. You've got to keep reminding yourself, like, a day at a time. If that's too much, then an hour at a time. Because, you know, I could sit here and think, oh my God, my ex is going to find a woman, and what if my daughter ends up enjoying being around her more than me? But, like, just got to be confident that, like, first of all, like, you're her mum. Like,
nothing will ever take that.
Yeah, you've raised her, you've brought her, you're bringing her up. Like, she will learn morals and everything from you. I just, try your best not to kind of like consume your mind with things that haven't happened yet. That would be my first piece of advice. If you haven't already, I'd strongly recommend seeking a therapist, because don't ever feel ashamed of feeling like you need that help.
And especially if you feel like you're burdening people with like talking about it, like, you should be able to talk about it, and you should feel safe to talk about it, and you should feel like you can.
Yeah, and I'm sure your friends are not bored.
Okay.
Don't fake the smile. Like, that breaks my heart, thinking that you don't feel like that you can be honest. Like, at the end of the day, if these people feel like you're being a burden, then they're not your friends. Right. It's a really traumatic experience you've been through, and I feel like it's a process, and you need to start that process. And I think the starting point is finding some sort of therapy
and kind of journaling, and things down, like just accepting every single emotion you're feeling and knowing like it's valid.
And also, it's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
Like, all the gaslighting that you had, that's his issue, that's his problem. And you've almost got to feel sorry for the girl that he's with, because she's now going to be stuck with that. Like, my heart goes out to you, and really brave emailing us. We're glad that we can help in any way, and just, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But you've got
a healer as well.
You've got your daughter, she's got you, and you're going to be fine, just the two of you. So sending lots of love. Shall we end the episode with a affirmation of the week? What are we thinking?
Okay, so today's affirmation is, I deserve to be happy and treated with respect.
Yes, amen.
I think that goes for all aspects of our life. I think in co-parenting relationships, in the relationship you're in,
even in friendship, just generally, like, I deserve to be happy and treated with respect. So say it, believe it, and
don't settle for anything less.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening, watching. As always, make sure you follow, share, leave a review. Only good one, please. And we hope to see you next week. Thank you so much.
Bye.